perfect example of what the media does to get people to hate Trump. The Vatican asked Pope Francis' funeral attendees to wear all black. Trump wore a blue suit. So that's what the media says, and this is the image they show you, right? Now here's a picture with more context, and you can see how many other people were dressed. I'm zooming in a little bit more so you can see it. There's a lot more blue than what the media was trying to lead people to believe. Again, this is the image they showed us, and this was the reality. And this is a perfect example of why the trust in the traditional media is at an all-time low. Like, they had to zoom in and get the perfect situation to push their narrative. And again, it's not about being intellectually honest or even fair. It's about pushing a narrative. And this is a perfect example of that. And it's beautiful to see the American people picking up on that and not trusting these traditional media outlets. Clearly, he was not the only person wearing blue there, but the media wants you to believe something else.
Trump just took down the wokies all at once without even saying a single word, and now they are absolutely furious about it. Over the past few days, they have been desperately trying to push back against Trump's first 100 days back in the spotlight. But let's be honest, it has not gone well for them at all. Not only did they fail, but even Barack Obama's wife was caught in the ripple effect and got completely dismantled. This is exactly the kind of news you have been waiting for, and you are going to enjoy every second of it. So hit that subscribe button, and let's jump straight into it.
Put up about 100 posters of what they say are unauthorized immigrants who have been arrested for violent crimes. You can see them there. They put them up on the driveway of the White House. If you look here, that's the West Wing just at the forefront, the executive mansion itself to the left. But what's particularly noteworthy about this location is it is right directly behind the positions where TV correspondents do their hits from the White House lawn. So therefore, no matter what network you're on, that includes MSNBC, if you're doing a hit from the White House right now, those pictures will be behind you. The White House is doing a briefing in about a half hour.
We all know that the goal of the Trump administration is to take down the wokies without even lifting a finger. But honestly, no one expected it to happen like this. They even planted banners along the entire route for those woke reporters to see on their way to the White House. It was a brilliant move, loud, clear, and absolutely humiliating for the media that has been trying to cover it all.
You can see behind us in the wider shot, the north lawn is dotted with 100 yard signs that show illegal immigrant mugshots next to the heinous crime that they've been accused of. And if there are judges in this country who are trying to help these illegal immigrants, the 100 listed on the lawn, avoid prosecution, then the White House has a big problem with them too.
This is easily one of the boldest moves the Trump administration has made during these first 100 days. What actually happened is that Trump put up all these banners because the wokies, including people like Bill Maher and Jon Stewart, were constantly shouting that Trump had not provided any evidence about the deported individuals. Well, Trump did. Not just show the evidence, he put it right in their faces, and now they have no excuse left to hide behind.
Well, I have to say, one of the biggest challenges that we have with the deportations that we know of so far, for example, with Kilmer Abreu Garcia, we don't know if they've had due process. We don't know if, in fact, these individuals do have a rap sheet. So I would encourage those individuals that have that as a backshot to blur those people out. The job of journalism is to ensure that we are presenting the facts, that we are cross-referencing. We know that PolyFact actually checked the Trump administration because of an earlier picture that they released on Kilmer, recognizing that it was altered, that it was false, that they had placed gang signs tattoos on him that weren't real. And so I would really, the press right now, we are absolutely under attack. Our job is always to have our true north, to make sure that we're presenting balanced news, and making sure that we are not putting folks that are potentially in danger, and having that representation of those pictures in the background. We can't allow that to basically for us to carry the water of potentially innocent people. So I recognize live shots are tough, but I would encourage folks to actually make sure that those shots are blurred to the best of your ability.
Can someone explain this, please? How is doing this even remotely considered a threat to anything? They were the ones shouting nonstop, demanding to see evidence about deported illegal immigrants. And now that Trump has actually provided it, they are scrambling to find anything to criticize. Just a quick reminder, where were all these outraged voices when previous administrations were doing the exact same thing? Silent, because back then it did not fit their narrative.
Mainstream media, as you know, Brian, doesn't want to cover this story. What we've done is get violent criminals and other lowlifes on the street. It's literally a murderer's row here on the lawn of the White House, and these are people that we've taken out of the country since we came into office. Last month, we had the lowest border crossings on record, and that's a result of not new legislation, as Biden said we would need, but just a new president getting the job done. We've reunited over 5,000 children with their families or as safe guardians since we came into office. We're cleaning up our communities. We're getting rid of all these guys. I mean, look at these. These are all heinous crimes. These are violent crimes. That would be a Law and Order episode, and we have to get all of them out.
The fact that the Democrats are fighting so hard to keep illegal immigrants in the country clearly shows how little they care about America. Anyone with a brain and a bit of common sense can see that there is something seriously wrong with the wokies and all their hypocrisy. If you really want to see that hypocrisy dismantled, just listen to how Tom Homan completely destroys their entire woke narrative in one go. It is pure truth, and they could not handle it.
How many of the individuals that are in the United States illegally are people like this, really bad people?
Well, first of all, how many illegal aliens I think in the United States? At least 20 million. Here's where'd you count that number? We've been speaking about 12 million for 20 years. We know, 10.5 that we know came to the border. How many don't we know? I talked about known gotaways at 2 million. How many unknown gotaways we have? Like between the Big Bend sector in Texas where there's no technology. How many 1,000 people did cross through there? We don't know. We would know now. But, so I would venture over 20 million. But your question is, last count, last I looked, there was about 700,000 illegal aliens with criminal charges walking the streets of this country. 700,000. And that's what we're looking for now. That's what we're prioritizing. Them and national security threats.
And even after hearing all that, they still weren't satisfied with Tom Homan's response, because the truth hurts. Right after shutting them down, Tom Homan went on to give an even stronger interview, doubling down on everything he said. He didn't backtrack, he didn't sugarcoat it. He laid out the facts even clearer. And trust me, it left the wokies scrambling even harder.
Latest ABC News, Washington Post, and Ipsos poll shows 53% of Americans disapprove of President Trump's handling of immigration. A plurality, 48%, say President Trump is going too far in deporting undocumented immigrants. What's your response to that?
Look, I'm not running a popularity contest. I'm enforcing the law. And by securing the border, like I said this morning, we have the most secure border in the history of the nation today. And like I said, crossings are down 96, 97%, depending on what week you look at. And like I said this morning, secured borders save lives. No one wants to talk about that. Because in the last 4 years, we had a 600% increase in sex trafficking. You had over 400 people on terrorist watch lists that crossed that southern border. You had 250,000 Americans dying of fentanyl coming across that border. We're saving lives every day, and that's not the story gets out. So a lot of this polling has to do with the misreporting by much of the media.
And even after hearing all of that, they still were not satisfied with Tom Homan's response, because the truth hurts. Right after shutting them down, Tom Homan gave an even stronger interview, doubling down on everything he said. He did not backtrack, he did not sugarcoat anything, he laid out the facts even more clearly. And trust me, it left the wokies scrambling even harder.
Walk around saying valedictorian, straight A student, speaks has excellent diction if you give them a chance. We knew very early on that no one was going to see beyond the color of our skin at an early age. And that could get you in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, when you talk about that fear, I'm sure that fear has been tested across your life in so many different places. And I wonder, what would you say has been the most hardest recent test of that fear? Because it's not one of those fears that you kind of get over and it just goes away. It kind of shows its head in many different ways, I imagine.
Well, in this current climate for me, it's, what's happening to immigrants. So it's not the fear for myself anymore. I drive around in a 4-car motorcade with a police escort. I'm Michelle Obama. I do still worry about my daughters in the world, even though they are somewhat recognizable. So my fears are for what I know is happening out there in streets all over the city. And now that we have leadership that is sort of indiscriminately determining who belongs and who doesn't, And we know that those decisions aren't being made with courts and with due process, and, that it's being made like this cop that pulled my brother over when he was 12. You don't look like somebody that belongs. I can determine just by looking at you that you're a good person or you're not a good person. And knowing that there's so much bias and so much racism and so much ignorance that fuels those kind of choices, I worry for people of color all over this country. And I don't know that we will have the advocates to protect everybody. And that frightens me. It keeps me up at night. And I know that I see that when I'm driving around LA. I'm just looking in the faces of folks who could be victim, and I'm wondering, how are you feeling? How do you feel standing on the bus stop? How do you feel comfortable going to work, going to school, when you know that there could be people out here judging you and who could upend your life in a second? That's who I worry for right now.
This is exactly what the wokies fail to understand when it comes to the border. Instead of focusing on the real benefits of securing it, such as safety jobs and national stability, they waste all their energy trying to make Trump look bad. They cannot even admit that a strong border protects everyone because they are too blinded by their hatred to see the bigger picture.
With what you said this morning, the President Trump's border policies are saving lives. You say fewer people are making that journey, meaning fewer people are dying along the way, fewer women are being sexually assaulted and trafficked, fewer Americans are losing their lives to fentanyl brought across the border. And these numbers are dramatic. You're seeing border crossers have gone from 15,000 illegal border crossings, from 15,000 a day down to, you said, 178, I think, in the past 24 hours. So amid that, what do you say to concerns for those who are trying to escape violent situations in their countries?
Well, look, there's a legal way to claim asylum, and there's an illegal way to claim asylum. And if we look at the past 4 years of the Biden administration, millions of people came to the border and made an asylum claim. But if we look at the immigration court data in the last 10 years, EOIR, Director of Immigration Court, it shows over the last decade, nearly 9 out of 10 people who make an asylum claim at the border end up with an order removal because they're not escaping fear and persecution from their homeland, or because of their political affiliation or race or religion. So, and we got to remember, why 9 out of 10 are making a false asylum claim, they're clogging up the system. Because there are tens of thousands of people in this world who really are escaping fear of persecution from their homeland because of race or religion or political affiliation, are standing back in the line. So the data speaks for itself. This is about asylum fraud, not about asylum.
Are these people seriously afraid they are going to get deported to Transylvania or something? This is literally a joke at this point. They must have forgotten that during Obama's administration, yes, the same husband of the one who is now crying, they deported over 5.3 million people back to their countries. Yet here they are screaming about Trump, who by comparison deported only a few thousand. The hypocrisy is so obvious, it is almost laughable. Start with what you said this morning. President Trump's border policies are saving lives. You say fewer people are making that journey, meaning fewer people are dying along the way. Fewer women are being sexually assaulted and trafficked. Fewer Americans are losing their lives to fentanyl brought across the border. And these numbers are dramatic. You are saying border crossers have gone from 15,000 illegal border crossings per day down to 178 in the past 24 hours. So amid that, what do you say to concerns from those trying to escape violent situations in their country? There is a legal way to claim asylum, and there is an illegal way to claim asylum. If we look at the past 4 years under the B administration, millions of people came to the border and made an asylum claim. But if you look at immigration court data over the last 10 years from the Executive Office for Immigration Review, it shows that nearly 9 out of 10 people who make an asylum claim at the border end up with an order of removal because they are not escaping fear and persecution based on political affiliation, race, or religion. We have to remember that when 9 out of 10 are making false asylum claims, they are clogging up the system. There are tens of thousands of people around the world who truly are escaping fear and persecution because of their race, religion, or political beliefs, and they are being pushed to the back of the line. The data speaks for itself. This is about asylum fraud, not real persecution.